We throw around the term social anxiety all the time to talk about feeling nervous around people, but sometimes that fear points to something way, way deeper. So today, we're going to unpack the real difference between social anxiety and something called avoidant personality disorder. And by the time we're done, you'll see exactly what sets them apart.
I mean, we've all been there, right? That knot in your stomach just thinking about walking into a party, or your mind going a million miles a minute before a big presentation. That feeling, like you're under a microscope and every single thing you do is being judged, it's a pretty human thing to feel.
But what happens when that feeling isn't just about one specific event? What if it's less about the situation you're in and more about this constant, nagging sense of dread that just follows you around? That's where we really need to start drawing some lines and making some important distinctions.
So, this social fear, it can kind of lead you down two very different roads. On one side, you have social anxiety, and on the other, you have this distinct clinical condition, Avoidant Personality Disorder, or APD. Now, just a quick heads up. We're exploring these ideas to get some clarity, but this is all just for info, not for self-diagnosis, okay?
All right, let's start with social anxiety. The key thing to lock onto here is specific social situations. This is that intense fear that pops up when you feel like you're on a stage, giving a speech, meeting new people, maybe even just eating in public. The core fear is really about your performance and what other people might think of it.
But then there's this other path, and this one isn't about those specific on-stage moments. Nope. This is a much broader, more all-encompassing pattern of just avoiding connection itself, and it's driven by a fear that feels fundamentally different.
And here's why it gets so confusing. On the outside, the behavior can look exactly the same. Someone with either condition might say no to a party invitation. In both cases, they're feeling this intense fear. But what's going on underneath all that, well, that's where they are worlds apart.
So, if they look so similar from the outside, where's the dividing line? What is the one crucial thing that really separates these two experiences? That's the big question we're going to tackle right now.
And it really all boils down to a core belief. One is a fear that's tied to a situation. It's a limited anxiety. The other is this profound, deep-seated conviction that you, at your very core, are just fundamentally flawed. That right there is the crucial distinction.
This core belief, it creates two totally different internal worlds. So let's break this down even more. Let's talk about the fear of what you do versus the fear of who you are.
Think about the little voice inside your head with social anxiety. It's totally focused on action and consequence. It's saying things like, what if I trip? What if I say something dumb? What if I sound like I have no idea what I'm talking about? The fear is about a potential mistake and the judgment that would come after that one specific action.
Okay, now compare that to the voice of avoidant personality disorder. The fear here isn't about doing something wrong, it's about being something wrong. It's the belief that if people get too close, if they see the real you, they will absolutely reject you, not because of something you did, but because of who you are. The flaw feels permanent.
All right, so these are very different internal beliefs, but so what? How do they actually change the way a person moves through the world and connects or, doesn't connect with other people?
Well, this difference has massive implications for relationships. Someone with social anxiety can often find real comfort in a small group of trusted friends because their fear is situational. But for someone with APD, that deep feeling of being inadequate is always there. Real intimacy becomes terrifying because letting someone in means letting them see that flawed self you're trying so hard to hide. And criticism? It's not just hurtful. It feels like proof of their deepest fear, that they are fundamentally unworthy of connection.
So why is getting this distinction right so important? I mean, it's not just about putting a label on something. It's about really understanding the root of the struggle.
Because at the end of the day, that's the clarity that really matters. Pinpointing whether the fear is coming from your actions or from your identity, that changes everything. It's the difference between managing a fear of being judged and healing a core belief that you're unworthy. And getting that clarity, well, that's the first and most crucial step.
So I'll just leave you with this to chew on. Whether we call it shyness or anxiety or something else entirely, how much does the story we tell ourselves about our own fears actually end up defining the boundaries of our lives?